kind of stay out of the way, so you don't have to ask any questions. My feelings on that is that no one wins, everyone loses. There's no winner in that situation. So really, I prefer to not take it any further than that. It's not a good situation, and no one won. You know, and usually when you have a game, somebody wins. Well, there's no winners in that one. And let's move on from there.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach. We got a question on the right side, all the way in the back.
Coach, Matt Tate from the Lawrence Journal-World. Just following up on that a little bit. Obviously, you've taken a lot of the transfers from other schools and whatnot. Have you given a look at Penn State's roster at all or anything like that yet?
Yes.
Good answer.
If Matt would like for me to elaborate just a tad, so I think that first of all you have to be respectful to Coach O'Brien and people who are trying to make a good or bad situation, but at the same time the rules are the rules, and there's several players that when the dust settles, I think there'll be several players that, entertain the thought of going somewhere else, especially the way it was presented to them. So I think that any program that didn't do homework prior to this decision coming out, was behind on that one.
On the outside right.
Austin Meek, Topeka Capital Journal. Charlie, just curious about your perceptions of the coaching fraternity you joined here in the Big 12. Any coaches that have reached out to you, or any of them that you knew from before you came to KU?
Well, I'm already friendly with a few of the coaches in this conference. I've been friends with Mac for quite some time, and Tommy Tuberville. We went to visit the troops together years ago and spent a lot of time over there. And getting to know a lot of the people. Actually, one of the guys who I'm the most respectful is Coach Snyder, and all the people in Kansas will be mad at me for having respect for Coach Snyder, but I was always a big fan of his. So it's fun and refreshing to get to know some of these other guys better. But the bottom line is, you want to go beat them. You want to go become their buddies.
We have a question on the front left. And again, if you give your name and affiliation, we appreciate that.
Stephen Hawkins with the AP. Coach, talk about, obviously, you're trying to build a program back up in a program and in a conference that has 3 defending champions in it. Talk about what the realistic timetable is, what your realistic expectations are this season trying to do that.
Thanks for reminding me, first of all. I think that I have two different issues. Okay, one issue, the one that everyone sees, is the fact that we were 2-10 and 3-9 over the last 2 years, having one conference game in that time frame. The other one, which I think is maybe even more important, were not the losses last year, but how badly they lost so often. And I think that the first thing you better do is get your team to be more competitive on a weekly basis. Because once you get your team more competitive on a weekly basis, the more wins will naturally follow. I think that that's the number one job that me, together with my staff, I think that we have to permeate all the way down to our players, is that we expect them to know what to do and go out and do it hard for 60 minutes. And I think that at least gives you a chance.
Got a question on the outside left.
Hey Coach, Aaron Sedano with Fox Sports. Just a few months ago, Dane Christ was still deciding on whether or not he was going to attend Kansas. You go through spring football, and here he is today as a captain and a representative of the team at media days. A lot of the questions that have been asked of other coaches have been on veteran leadership and who's been leading in the offseason. Can you talk about that process with Dane gelling with the team so quickly and so obviously earning their respect in a short period of time?
Well, obviously Dane and I have known each other since going back to early high school days when we first got involved in the whole recruiting process. But I think that when he came here, and it really wasn't about me selling him on me. You know, our relationship is wonderful. It was whether or not he thought that he could come in here and be competitive or not. So he spent the whole time with the offensive line, which shows you that he's a very intelligent young man. You know, because he wanted to know whether or not he thought that the offensive line would give him an opportunity. And I think that he's such a natural leader that it was easy for the players to follow and the skilled players. But I think that if you haven't won over the offensive line, that, you know, I think that's a great place to start. I was also happy when the team voted the captains that there was a close vote between him and Tanner, because I thought that if there was no one on the existing team that the players thought highly of, that would have sent an awfully bad message to me that no one, you know, none of the previous teammates were respected or revered. And I think that I was very happy the way that all turned out.
Question on the outside right.
Coach Sean with the K-State Collegiate.
Where am I? Okay, sorry.
Coach, you spent a year with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's and obviously it's in the same area as Lawrence and all that. Has that helped at all, or anything like that? Just being somewhat familiar with the KC metro area and being able to recruit and all that kind of stuff.
Well, to be honest with you, it was one of the reasons why I took the job. You know, I personally really enjoyed my time with the Chiefs. I had some, you know, we had some family issues. And, you know, most people know I have a daughter with special needs, and she had a couple of really tough situations occur in the 1 year we were there. So it caused us to, you know, to move out in a short time frame, which wasn't my intent when I first got there. But once we got everything settled and got my daughter, you know, kind of settled, and this job presented itself, it wasn't a lack of familiarity with Kansas or the Kansas City area. You know, that it kind of encouraged us to go ahead and take this job and take this opportunity and see if we can't take a losing program and make it turn it into a competitive winning program.
Question all the way in the back right.
Matt Tate, Lawrence Journal World again. Coach, you just talked about Dane and his adjustment to town. We haven't heard a whole lot about Anthony McDonald, Mike Ragone, the other Notre Dame guys. Do you have any update on how they're adjusting and kind of getting along in town?
I mean, my blockheads, yeah, they're you know, both these guys really like being here. They're doing well in school, which was always a little bit of a concern when you're bringing in fifth-year guys. You want to make sure that, hey, look, at anyone that's taken a fifth year somewhere else, for, you know, anyone who hasn't figured this one out yet, they're doing that to enhance their value to play on Sunday. That's why they're doing it. They're not doing it because they want to go to another school all of a sudden. They want to go somewhere that gives them an opportunity to enhance their value on Sunday. So both Anthony behind Manti, well, that wasn't looking too well. Okay, and Ragone, he would have been behind Tyler Eifert. And if you went back, that wasn't looking too well either. Because if you picked the two best players on that team that they came from, that's who they were behind. So I think that these guys are looking forward to the opportunity to compete, to be on the field on a regular basis, and that gives us a lot better chance.
Question on the aisle right.
You know, Charlie, Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. What is it that's going on at KU and Lawrence that made you think this is a job you could turn around and a program you could build into a winner?
Well, that's a very, very good question. So let's look at this objectively. You're sitting down in Gainesville, you get offered this job. So what do? You look at your two closest competitors, proximity-wise, your two closest competitors. So you look at Kansas State and you look at Missouri. How are they doing?
Very well.
Okay, so I'm looking at it like you and saying, okay, the two schools that are in the closest proximity are both doing fairly well. So then my job was, once I took the job, is let's figure out why they're doing fairly well, and see if we can't close the gap on them, quicker than they would like us to. And you look at what both those programs are doing, have solid winning programs. I think that I think that that's one of the reasons that gave me reason for optimism, because there's no reason why you can't add a third one into the mix and become more competitive. Time frame, I can't give you. Okay, but I can tell you there's already two teams doing it. Okay, which tells you that it obviously can be done.
Question on the left, about halfway back.
Charlie, Tim Griffin with the San Antonio Express News. You're coming into a new conference here where a lot of spread offenses, a lot of success with quarterbacks in that situation. And you decide to go to a defensive coordinator who has a lot of NFL experience but hadn't been involved in college football for a long time. I wonder if you could just describe the thought process you had in going out and hiring Dave Campo.
First of all, Dave Campo and I have known each other for a lot of years. Okay, and what I've always admired about Dave Campo, two qualities, and besides the fact that I like the man, okay, he's a great teacher and he's very well respected by the players. Okay, so when you're a great teacher who's well respected by the players, okay, you always have a chance. I knew that Dave would spend a lot of time, he spent a lot of time on his own going and visiting some of his guys from around the country, okay, that play against the spread to get their ideas. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Dave and the staff that we assemble around him that make those decisions how best to do it. I think he spent a lot more time than he would have liked to, going around to visit some different people to conceptually come up with what he wants to do. But the guy is an energetic, infectious person, okay, who's a great teacher and well respected by the players, and that always gives you a chance.
We got a question in the middle, third one.
Jason Kersey from the Oklahoma. Coach, coming from a place like Notre Dame, which is so football-centric, now to a place like Kansas that's more of a basketball school, is that something you just accept, or how do you generate excitement about the same kind of excitement about football as basketball at Kansas?
Well, first of all, I love college hoops, so let's start there. So, and I get great seats too. I get great seats. But you think, let's think about recruiting is the lifeline of every program, right? All right, so it's a Saturday afternoon in January, okay, and you're going to Allen Fieldhouse with about 20 recruits that you're bringing in. The place is rocking and rolling, the decibel level's well over 100. You got one of the best basketball teams in the country with arguably the best coach, on an annual basis, playing, and the fans are going bananas. And what you're saying to these players coming in and saying, that's what we want Memorial Stadium to become like. You got to come here and give them a reason to be that way. I mean, they're already seeing evidence of what the people are willing to do, but you have to help become part of it. It's a wonderful recruiting tool. Okay, so most people would look at it as second-class citizens. I play right into that. I mean, you couldn't have a better recruiting tool than our basketball team.
Got a question on the aisle, right side.
Kevin Haskin, Topeka Capital Journal. Coach, along those same lines, people, I guess, would think the coaching at Notre Dame and football and coaching at Kansas are a lot opposite, or much different. But is the difference really that great? Can you tell you? No, really. You might say that the expectations are different, but everyone wants the same thing. It's just the one thing about Notre Dame is we all know it's a national school with a national presence. So anytime you said something, it was national news. Okay, well, whether it's national news or regional news is not really the point. Okay, the Jayhawk fans, you couldn't get any more exuberant fans than the people who root for the Jayhawks. So really, at the end of the day, they all want the same thing. They want their team to go out there and play competitive football and win. And just the fact that the expectations are not exactly the same as far as on a yearly basis, that's the only place where you can draw the line.